ABS sensor replacement. Check these 8 things first. An ABS light comes on. Maybe the traction control light comes on too. A scan tool points to a wheel speed sensor, and right away, the ABS sensor gets blamed. Sometimes that is the correct answer, but not always, because ABS sensor codes and ABS sensor symptoms do not always mean the sensor itself is actually bad. Sometimes the real problem is dirt on the sensor, damaged wiring, a bad connector, a cracked tone ring, a worn wheel bearing, low system voltage, an ABS module issue, or a problem that started right after another repair. So before you replace the sensor, there are a few important things you should check first. In this video, I will show you 8 things to rule out before replacing an ABS sensor. So before you buy parts and guess, let's go step by step. Check number 1. The sensor may only be dirty, not failed. This is one of the easiest things to overlook. ABS sensors work by reading wheel speed information, but if the sensor tip gets covered in dirt, metal debris, rust dust, or road grime, the signal may become weak or inconsistent. And when the signal becomes unreliable, the ABS system may turn on the warning light. That makes it look like the sensor is dead, but the sensor may only be dirty. This is especially common in areas with brake dust, road salt, mud, or corrosion, so before replacing the ABS sensor, ask whether the sensor has simply become contaminated, because sometimes cleaning the sensor area solves the problem. Check number 2. The wiring or connector may be the real problem. This is one of the most common causes of ABS sensor-related faults. The sensor sits near the wheel. That means the wiring lives in a harsh area. It sees water, dirt, movement, heat, and road debris all the time. So if the wire gets damaged, rubbed through, pulled loose, or corroded at the connector, the ABS system may lose the sensor signal. At that point, the sensor gets blamed first. But if the signal path is broken, a new sensor may not fix anything. So before replacing the sensor, inspect the connector and wiring carefully, because sometimes the sensor is fine. The circuit is what failed. Check number 3. The tone ring or reluctor ring may be damaged. An ABS sensor does not work alone. It has to read something. And in many systems, that something is a tone ring or reluctor ring. If that ring is cracked, rusted, broken, or damaged, the sensor may send bad wheel speed data. Then the ABS light turns on and the sensor gets blamed. But the real problem is what the sensor is reading, not the sensor itself. This is a hidden cause many people miss, because the sensor gets replaced, but the damaged ring stays right where it was. So before replacing the ABS sensor, make sure the tone ring is actually in good shape. Check number 4. Rust or debris may be changing the sensor gap. Here is another subtle problem. Even if the sensor is good and the tone ring is not cracked, rust buildup or debris around the mounting area can change the air gap between the sensor and the ring it reads. And if that gap becomes wrong, the signal can weaken or become unstable. That can trigger an ABS light or wheel speed fault that makes the sensor look bad. This happens more often on older vehicles where corrosion builds up around the hub area. So before replacing the sensor, check whether rust or mounting contamination is affecting the sensor gap. Because sometimes the problem is not electrical, it is physical alignment. Check number 5. The wheel bearing may be worn. This is another big one. A worn wheel bearing can affect wheel speed readings even if the sensor itself is fine. Why? Because if the bearing has play, the tone ring or wheel hub may not rotate in a perfectly stable way. That can distort the signal the sensor reads. And once that happens, the ABS system may think the sensor is failing. This is one reason a wheel bearing problem and an ABS light sometimes show up together. So before replacing the sensor, ask whether the wheel bearing has noise, play, or other signs of wear, because sometimes the sensor is only reporting a problem caused by the hub. Check number 6. Low battery voltage or charging problems may be confusing the ABS system. Not every ABS light starts at the wheel. Sometimes the system has an electrical problem that affects how modules and sensors communicate. A weak battery, low voltage, or charging system issue can sometimes trigger ABS faults, communication issues, or multiple warning lights at once. And when a code appears for a wheel speed sensor, people replace the sensor first. But if system voltage is unstable, the ABS module may not be reading signals correctly in the first place. This matters especially if the ABS light appeared with other electrical warnings or after battery problems. So before replacing the sensor, make sure the electrical system is healthy enough to support the ABS system properly. Check number 7. The ABS module or control unit may be the real problem. Here is another mistake people make all the time. A sensor code appears, so the sensor gets replaced. But sometimes the real issue is inside the ABS control module. If the module cannot process the signal correctly, has an internal fault, or loses communication, it may set codes that point you toward the sensor side. But the sensor itself may not be the real failure. This is why guessing gets expensive, because a bad ABS module can make a good sensor look guilty. So before replacing the sensor, make sure the system is actually receiving, processing, and interpreting the signal correctly. Check number 8. The problem may have started after brake, hub, axle, or suspension work. And finally, one more thing that gets missed all the time. Sometimes the ABS light comes on right after another repair. For example, brake work, wheel bearing replacement, hub replacement, axle work, suspension work, or even basic service around the wheel area. That timing matters because the sensor may have been bumped, the connector may be loose, the wiring may be stretched, or the tone ring alignment may have changed. And once that happens, the new symptom shows up right after the repair. At that point, many people replace the sensor, but the real issue may be that something was disturbed during service. So before replacing it, always think about what work was done recently, because the timing of the failure is often one of the best clues. Now here's the big takeaway. An ABS sensor can absolutely fail, yes, but an ABS sensor code does not automatically mean you need a new ABS sensor. That is why ABS sensor replacement should never be based on the code alone. So, before replacing an ABS sensor, ask yourself, is the sensor dirty? Is the wiring or connector damaged? Is the tone ring cracked or rusted? Is rust changing the sensor gap? Is the wheel bearing worn? Is system voltage stable? Could the ABS module be the real issue? And did the problem begin right after another repair? Those questions matter because the smarter move is always to confirm why the ABS system lost that wheel signal before replacing the part. So let's quickly recap. Before replacing an ABS sensor, check for a dirty sensor, damaged wiring or a bad connector, a damaged tone ring, rust or debris affecting sensor gap, a worn wheel bearing, low battery voltage or charging issues, an ABS module fault, and recent repair work that may have disturbed the system. Sometimes the ABS sensor really is bad? Yes, but do not assume it first, because if the real problem is somewhere else, a new sensor will not fix what the ABS system is actually trying to tell you. And now I want to hear from you. Did you ever think the ABS sensor was bad, but later find out the real problem was something else? Was it wiring, a tone ring, a wheel bearing, low voltage, or something disturbed during another repair? Comment below with what caused it on your car. And if enough people mention the same issue, I will make the next video on how to tell if an ABS sensor is actually bad before replacing it.